Hello, everybody. It's the Nutty Professor with the social distancing queen, Agita, eating treats. And her brothers are in her room, so I'm going to see if I can bring the brothers without her panicking. She will go to her room, but she'll hiss at them. So let's see if we can get a little footage of the family togetherness time with the twins and Agita. Agita is here, still in the living room, and babies are here. Babies are here. They're coming. Agita's gone to the corner. There's no hissing yet. But Agita's gone to her bed there. Now she's racing that way. No, sweetie, don't bug your sister. Your sister is going to hiss at you. Yes, there's hissing going on. Okay, wait a second. I gotta pause. We're gonna get Agita into her room before she gets really upset. With a little bit of hissing, Agatha made it safely back into her room, and the door is shut against her baby brothers who only went to play, just even be near her. They really love her, and if they get within 6 feet, she hisses. So anyway, let's have a quick look at the Mayhem twins and then begin this podcast. Now, one twin is sitting right outside the door. He knows not to come in because his sister will not be happy about it. But they just sit there waiting for their sister to become suddenly friendly. Is watching from the kitchen. So the other twin is over there, and then there's one twin here, right behind me. And I'm going to go sit on my ego chair. Hello, everybody. It's me, the Nutty Professor. I'm on my ego chair, and this is the vlog light that my relatives gave me, one of the many items they gave me for my birthday. It's really meant to be used with the phone. I'm trying to use it with this, and I've moved the ego chair a little bit so that you'll see a bit of the skyline view of West Toronto, Etobicoke Lakeshore behind me. Now, I think you're getting some light from this vlog light. Let me remove my mask. And babies are both here by my feet. There is quite a bit to report. You may have noticed that I am wearing a BMW hat. And the reason for that is that one more car broke down, second time within 2 weeks, on the way to the country house, on the highway. This time, the BMW, and this time it's gone because it's going to require $3,500 to fix. The engine is gone, and on that car, on the Corvette, the Corvette is worth quite a bit. It's worth spending $3,500 on it. This one, the whole car will be worth $3,500 total. And I'd rather put that $3,500 towards a replacement eventually, not right now, but eventually if a really cool car comes up. So the Nutty Professor is down to down from 7 to 6 cars. So there is a space available in the Nutty Professor garage for something very cool, older but cool. Now, the little story here, I've already sent texts about this to my friends, but the story for the remaining 15-20 people who watch these accidentally were kind of semi-following the Nutty Professor. The story is that the pulls were still pretty strong over the past, week or so. Even after the car broke down, even after everything, there was still, after the Corvette broke down, there was still pulls. I was still fighting, but I was staying clear, and I'm still clear. That's the good news. The good news is all is well with, as we have seen, with the twins and the Agita. Agita as unfriendly as ever, twins as playful as ever, and all is well with them. All is well with me. I am still clear, and that's the important thing. But there was a bit of a pull. Now, I want to mention something from a previous podcast, and I think I talked about in the podcast, I don't know, 7 or 8 or something like that. I talked about 5 signs that you're a junkie, and I went through the signs and some kind of funny things, not serious, But I'm going to add number 6. And that's another reason I'm taping here, because you can see the condos at the window behind me, is that I sit in this ego chair and it's facing that way, so I can look at the window. And this is a number 6 sign that you're a junkie, even if you've been clean for 1.5 years, as I have. And sometimes I'm sitting there battling the werewolf here in the ego chair, and I look out the window and I can see all those condos. And one of the thoughts that I have, this is a junkie thought, is that I look at the windows and I go, how many of those windows, behind those windows, are people partying? How many lines are being consumed? And I'm pretty sure out of all those windows, there's a lot of windows, I'm pretty sure that, maybe that one and that one and that one and that one and that one, there's a few dozen at least lines being consumed right now out there at my window. It's a trigger. It's a cue. In a previous podcast, I also talked about how Marcel Proust, the writer, he tasted a Madeleine pastry, in France, and it brought back all his memories from his childhood, visiting the Countess so and so, the aristocratic childhood that he had, and it led to his writing 14 volumes of A Recherche de Pardieu, sorry for the pronunciation, remembrance of things past in English. So now, my recollections are a little bit sleazier. My recall, my retrieval cues, information processing model of psychology, a little bit sleazier. It's like, and I look at the windows and I go, how many lines? With the cues everywhere. Now, so I was doing that for a while, but I stayed clear, and then I said, okay, I had to go to the house, meet my contractor, switch cars, took the BMW, driving along the 403, passing Burlington, and the battery light comes on. I've got the hood down, battery light comes on, and the check engine light comes on. So I'm like, and I'm already about 40 kilometers from home, and I'm heading towards Chatham, where my mechanic is, another, 300 kilometers or so, 250 kilometers, So I'm driving along, and I go, battery, probably alternator. I might as well just go until the car dies, and then have it towed. If it's alternator, it probably won't do permanent damage to the car. And I'm just pushing. I'm like going, I'll go for, and then and I'm passing Hamilton, and smoke starts coming out. And I'm like, that's not a good sign. Smoke starts coming out, and then I start smelling antifreeze, and that's not a good sign either. That means that something really bad is happening. So I try to get to the next exit, but by this time I've passed the Hamilton downtown exit, and the next one you have to go up the hill towards Ancaster, and you can see Hamilton on your right hand side, and the car barely makes it up the hill, and there's a very narrow shoulder, as you ascend that hill, towards Ancaster. And I just made it to where the shoulder becomes wider, and I just pulled over, just got off the highway, I'm still that much space, between me and the highway, but I'm off the highway, I'm on the shoulder, the whole shoulder is wide enough, the car just completely dies. And I kind of knew it was not good news, So I called my mechanic, and he says, if you can get it to us, have it towed. If not, take it to someone there, get it back to your home. And I'm going, there's no point in taking it home. I mean, and I kind of had an idea that the car was done. So I'm like, I bring it to you, and then you can assess it. And then if we're scrapping it, we scrap it. And if not, if we're going to fix it, you're the only person I trust to do it. So then I call CAA. They were, and big thanks, CAA people, very helpful. And, and I said, I'm on the highway, I'm broken down. I didn't say this the second time in 2 weeks, but I said, my car is broken down, and they're like, oh, it's, because you're on the highway, it's an emergency. We'll send someone within half an hour. And they say, their recommendation is stay in the car, keep the flashes on. But I was a little worried because the car wasn't it wasn't off to the right of the shoulder. It was on the shoulder, but there was more likely of a big truck coming up the hill and hitting the car, So I kind of stepped away from the car back, even against their advice. But there was these huge trucks coming, and cars, and they come up the hill, and they're coming fast, and I'm like, and I'm standing back there. I can barely hear the CAA people. They can barely hear me. But in the end, got it towed all the way to Chatham, 220 kilometers. And the first person I talked talked to said, you have a plan that will cover 200 kilometers, the extra 24 kilometers, you'll have to pay out of your pocket, $80 or something. I said, absolutely, no problem whatsoever. And then she checked on it and she said, if you upgrade to the next plan, the premium, the whatever, I'm already plus, but you go up to the premium, then you get extra kilometers for a tow. You get 300 instead of 200, and then you get all the other benefits. You get more tows. And she said, as long as you give me the visa number before the tow truck guy hooks up the car. So I did. He had arrived, but he didn't hook up the car. So I said, wait a second, I got to do this. So I gave the visa number, and she said, now you're good all the way to Chatham. And then I had a very good drive. Had quite a lot in common. Young man, tow truck driver, had a lot in common because he's a car enthusiast. And we're talking about cars, and he's got some BMWs. He's younger, so he mods them, and he's got, and he soups them up, and he does some, track racing and stuff. And we're talking about the cars that he has and has had, and the cars that I have. And he's a new cat dad, only 2 or 3 months, but he's completely smitten. He really loves his cat, really spoiling him as a cat should be spoiled. So we had a lot in common. We're exchanging, we're showing cat pictures, and 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 when we get off the highway, he's like going, "Whoa, look, my God, he's got a video," and get to the stop on the way. We go right past my garage, where I store the other cars. So stopped and picked up the Pacifica, and he followed me to my mechanics in Chatham. And as soon as the mechanic and they looked at it and they said, you fucked up the engine. It's done, and it's about $3,500 to repair. And the car was good. The body was okay, but the interior was never all that great. And it's not a car that I'd spend $3,500 on. So I felt a little sad. But as I keep saying, I'm anthropomorphic, of course, about my cats, but cats are a whole different thing. To a certain degree, I am about my cars, but I don't name my cars. And it's for occasions like this. If you name the car, it's harder to give it up. But the car was not named. It's always just been the BMW, the Beamer, So I just, I said goodbye to it, and I took all my stuff out, and my mechanic's going to see if, maybe he can get, he can maybe turn it into a project car, or, do something with it. And I said, you can give me the plates later, and I'll sign over the ownership later. But I'm not. So, and then I had the Pacifica. I went to cut the grass, and I'm a little sad. But the good news is that I can rechannel energy now. Not right away. I mean, we're talking about months or year, 2 years. But I'm going to keep my eyes open for a suitable replacement. Maybe a BMW, and I'm wearing the hat. I've got the hat. I don't have the car. So maybe a BMW, but not a convertible. Maybe a 7 Series, the bigger one, older. They're very luxurious. Anyway, I'm going to fill you in more on this for now. The main news is still clean, down to 6 cars. Bye for now.